Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. So, Jay, this is an interesting one, but before we jump into it, I want to make sure that I welcome some special people. People who are new to the channel, welcome. This is the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg, where we're always dropping boxing related content. So make sure you become a subscriber. And if you are a normal patron of the channel, make sure that you're hitting the like button or the dislike button if you don't like the content, but make sure that you're engaging. As a matter of fact, new folks too, smash that like button. All right, Jay, let's jump into it. We've been talking about this for a long time, and I thought that this was a really interesting topic. We've talked about Terence Crawford's resume, and I think it's very difficult for people to delineate between talking about his resume and talking about him as a fighter, right? And Canelo Alvarez just demonstrated that in an interview that just dropped here recently between he and Terence Crawford. Now, what was so interesting about that, actually, before I jump into it, Jay, I want to say a few things about Terence Crawford because I need to make sure that I preface my comments, right? Number one, I think Terence Crawford is an outstanding fighter. No one is knocking Terence Crawford as a fighter. Similarly,
Exactly.
Canelo Alvarez did not knock him as a fighter, right? So I want to preface my comments with that. I also want to make sure that I say this. Terence Crawford's response is part of the reason why many people do not like Terence Crawford as a fighter, right? They're not fans. They like him as a fighter, they like his skill set, but his response is an indicator of his personality. And his personality doesn't necessarily jive with many people who follow boxing. That's just my personal opinion, and that's the way that I see it, right? So, number one, Terence Crawford needs to stop referring to himself in the third person. Okay. Like people who refer to themselves in the third person, they're bigger than life personalities. They're people that transcend whatever it is that they do. Terence Crawford does not transcend boxing. Please stop referring to yourself in the third person. And the reason why I say he does not transcend boxing, I'm gonna play this intro to the interview yesterday, Jay. I just want you to hear how Shaquille O'Neal refers to everybody on the panel, right? Listen to this.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shaquille O'Neal. Welcome to the GOATS Roundtable. Of course, we have legends here. We have the legendary Dana White. We have the legendary Canelo, Bud Crawford, and the great Tom Brady.
The legendary Bud Crawford and the great. No legendary. None of that. He was not described as that. Stop referring to yourself in the third person. That is not you. Okay? That is not you. Let's go ahead and jump into this now, Jay. Canelo Alvarez took a few shots at Terence Crawford's resume. And he said, the resume is weak, essentially. And I can't believe Terence Crawford was cooked by a guy that barely speaks English, but he got cooked.
That made it
And
worse.
he comes out, and out of all the names that were on his resume that he could speak to, Jay, he could speak to Sean Porter, he could speak to Errol Spence. He chose Victor Postol, he chose Ricky Burns. Postol and Burns, two guys that have lost a significant amount of fights subsequent to their fight with Terence Crawford. Of course, Terence Crawford is going to come back and say, "You're never the same after you fight Terence Crawford." But they were the same before they fought you, and they were the same after. They just never were that good. Postol was a hype job because he was actually tied to Freddie Roach. Ricky Burns was never that good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, those are the two best names he could come up with on his resume. And Canelo cooked with who is that guy? Who is that guy? And then proceeded to say that I saw Victor Postol get cooked by a 40-year-old in my gym. Coming back with Victor Postol and Ricky Burns, knowing that there's a contingent of fans that are Bud buddies. They call them Johnson bouncers. Now, that was a new term I just heard on a live stream, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you check them out. Johnson bouncers. Those fans are going to go in there and they're going to support whatever Terence Crawford says, right? All of a sudden becoming undisputed. That's the biggest thing on earth when that wasn't a big deal back in the day. Now that's the biggest thing on earth. Listen, that's not going to work in this particular situation because we saw across social media, even Mike Cappinger, if you will, was saying that there is no universe, not one, no universe where you would consider Ricky Burns and Victor Postol elite. So and he's a knob turner, right? So it's
Facts.
clear to me that this is an issue with Terence Crawford, and one of the issues that I have with him, you don't have a great resume, fam. It is what it is. This is the reason why you're here today. And I loved how Canelo told him, I hope your Uncle Turkey paid you a lot of money to get knocked out. Jay, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I was when I heard that I was like, you picked Ricky Burns. Let's still look at Ricky Burns. Ricky Burns already had 2 losses when he fought before I fought, but now he's coming off a decision draw, a split decision draw to where Ray Beltran, who broke his draw. Then he fought Bud next. So like they said about Kell Brook being damaged goods fighting Spence, Ricky Burns would have been damaged goods fighting Bud the very next fight with the after having a broken jaw, having a titanium plate inserted. But nevertheless, why would you pick Ricky Burns and Victor Postol instead of Spence? Yeah, you dominated Spence. That doesn't take away Spence being a good fighter. You even said it yourself. You don't think anyone else could have did that to Spence outside of yourself. That lets you know you're a dynamic fighter, and Spence was up there. You're just a better fighter than Spence. Point blank, period. But you chose not to. That diminishes your own record, your own resume, fool. I don't know why you did that. Even your own fans are like, why would you say that? You get cooked by your own people, man. And you got cooked by a dude that doesn't speak English that well. And he just echoed what we've been saying on this channel for the longest. We got a lot of hate. Oh, y'all diminishing Bud. I'm like, no, we're saying his resume just ain't up to par. We know what we see. He's a great fighter, but his resume doesn't match that. He doesn't have a who's who on his resume. That's what we've been saying the longest. Canelo just demonstrated that even more. So y'all gonna be mad at Canelo now? Saying the same stuff that we've been saying for a year and a half, 2 years now. I mean, let's be real, man. His resume just ain't that. That means he's not a great fighter. That's all that is. But for him to also try to flip that and try to talk about Canelo's resume is what got me more than anything else. He talked about, oh well, he fought people on the way out on the way down, and they weren't that good. You fought Kell Brook, fam. You brought him down in weight after he already had both his orbitals busted. Coming off, some things that he was doing outside of the ring also. You fought Amir Khan, who wasn't what he was, neither. So, I mean, you fought Sean Porter, who was basically 1 foot in, 1 foot out of retirement. But you wanted full credit for the Kell Brook. And you said Errol Spence didn't get full credit for fighting Kell Brook. Doesn't make sense. This doesn't mean that you're not a great fighter. It just means your resume just ain't up to par. You can still be a great fighter. Just take it out, leave it as that. Just go back to the original argument you used to say, like, well, they boxed me out. I couldn't get the big fights because I was on the other side of the street. Go with that argument at least. That's a better argument for you than you just saying, oh yeah, I fought an elite fighter, Ricky Burns and Victor Postol. I'm surprised you couldn't. I'm surprised you got that out your mouth without laughing. But nonetheless, you got cooked by Canelo on that. Canelo cooked you on that, and Mike Carpenter cooked you on that. Everyone's cooking you on that. So just admit it. My resume ain't what it is because I didn't go to the other side of the street. I re-signed with Top Rank myself. I chose to go that route. I chose to sue them because they couldn't get me the fights I wanted also. That's on you, fam, for going that way for the money, for those type of fights that you got with Top Rank, knowing they weren't going to give you the fights, knowing that all the smoke was on the other side. Not saying you couldn't beat those fighters, but you chose not to go through that gauntlet. It's just like in the NFL or college football. If you're in a conference that's not good, sure, you're going to blow everyone out. You don't have any wear and tear on you by the time you get to a playoff. When the other teams are going back at it, they're fighting each other for every fight. They got to go at it. So by the time they get to you, they're worn. You're not saying you couldn't beat them anyway, but you didn't go through the wear and tear. You didn't go through any gauntlet over there. Ricky Burns, Victor Postol, that's who you say elite. You tripping. You tripping, but great fighter, but I don't know what the heck you were talking about on this one, homie.
You guys tell us what you think in the comment section in regards to this. Did Canelo Alvarez cook Terence Crawford? We believe so. Do you believe that Bud has that resume? Nah, I don't believe he does, but I still believe he's a great fighter. Let us know what you think. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast, AM Sports Media, and we are out.